Shalom, shalom, shalom lachem, אנשים טובים, וברוכים הבאים לערוץ הקטן שלי. ערוץ הקטן שלי. אוקיי, ערוץ לא כל כך קטן, לא כל כך קטן. קצת יותר גדול, a little bit bigger. Yeah, my teeny tiny channel. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, I'm fresh off of my return from the Remnant Conference put together by Boom Church and my good friend and dear brother in the faith, Bishop William Brown. Shout out to the Right Reverend Sebastian Holly, heck of a guy, and he's the one who hosted the conference. I saw and had another opportunity to chit chat a bit with B'nai Israel and also with Dr. Kelly Richardson. Wonderful people. Ran into a person who said, "Hey, I know you, Hot Second Hebrew." Hey, that was really cool. You know, if you can do a little something that proves to help and build others, that's a good thing. It feels great. So shout out to you, sister. Thank you for watching my channel. So look, um, this is simply the latest installment of Hot Second Hebrew, Hot Second Hebrew, and the word today will be Natsar, Natsar, spelled with a nun, Tsadi, and a Resh. But a little bit of advice first from a very wise guy. Okay, this guy, a king, and we are, as they would say in Espanol, Tocayo. We share the same name. David HaMelech, he has some great advice. It comes from Tehillim, Psalm Perek Lamed Dalet 34. And I think in the English Bibles it might start at verse 12, but in the Tanakh, the All Hebrew Bible, it starts in verse 13. Great advice, and it involves our word, of course. And even David HaMelech himself is related to the word of the day. I'm related to that word by extension because of the work of Messiah, and so are you as well, too. So, without any further ado, chapter 34, starting at verse 13, he says, Mi ha'ish hechafetz chaim. Who is the man that desires life? Okay. Ohev yamim lirot tov. He loves his days simply to see good, to see good. Verse 14, listen for our word. Netzor leshoncha mira. He guards his tongue from evil. Usfatecha midaber mirma. And his lips from speaking loftiness. Sur mira ve'asetov. He flees from wickedness and he does good. Bakesh shalom ve'radfehu. He seeks out peace, okay? He seeks out peace and he pursues it. He pursues it. So the first thing right off the top that we need to do, of course, is to write down our word and put the dry erase board within reach so we don't have to make old guy noise. It's like, ee. So our word is natsar. Natsar. So without any vowels, we simply have natsar as it appears here. Natsar. So the vowel markings will, you guys, make a difference, as you know. Natsar. So natsar, it is in its past tense form. Okay, the pattern of the vowel lets you know that. It is in the past tense, third person. He did whatever this is. He did whatever this is. Natsar. Natsar. Okay, so the word natsar, okay, or just first off the top, let's talk about the three consonants. Again, the nun, the tzadi, and the resh. Depending on the vowel combinations, the word carries different meanings. And that is the case, as I've explained many times. And it's okay. You want to repeat and repeat and repeat until it gets in there. That one Hebrew shoresh, or root, with 3 letters mostly, can have a myriad of meanings depending on the pronunciation or the placements of the diacritical marks and vowels. In this case, natsar means to guard, to guard, okay, to preserve, to protect. It can also carry the connotation to obey, to obey. This word natsar. What happens, okay, again, if you switch up the pattern? What about netzer? Netzer. What about netzer? Netzer is a branch. A branch. It can be a shoot off of a plant, okay? It can also be a scion, Scion, a scion, and heir, Heir. Okay, sometimes I struggle with my own first language. It can be an heir or a descendant. See how you and I are involved in this as well. Okay, Yeshua by way of King David, and us by way of Yeshua the Messiah. Okay, and then also there are cognates as well involved. Cognates, and one in particular. I chose to pick one that I knew would be really, really, really kind of different. Well, really different. You wouldn't expect it. But before we do that I want to share an example of each one of these words in their use. For example, as a guardian, okay, or as someone who preserves or whatever. Exodus chapter 34, verse 7 is where you can look. Exodus 34, 7, you will find the word nutzer. Let's take a look. ביחד, okay? אנחנו יכולים לראות את המילה הזו. In the text, we can take a look and see the word. Exodus chapter 34, verse 7. And in this particular chapter, the attributes of the Most High, I believe, I'm pretty sure, are being called out. Verse 7 of Exodus chapter 34. Notzer chesed, okay, he preserves mercy or preserves tender kindness, le'alafim, okay, to the thousands. So he preserves, okay, so the word notzer means in that connotation to preserve, guard, or keep, okay. So we also saw in our psalm chapter 34, starting at verse 13, we saw that nitzor leshon chamira, we saw that it was one who would guard their tongue, okay, from evil. How about in the form of an offshoot or a branch or a scion? Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. Yes, Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1, the same word is used as a branch, and it's in a messianic prophecy. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. Is that it? Yeah. Isaiah 11, 1. It says, V'yatsa choter, okay, migeza Ishai. And from the stem of Ishai there will come out a sprout. V'netzer mishorashav, and a shoot from his roots. Yifrach, and it will flower, it will blossom, it will bloom. Of course, we know this is speaking of the Mashiach. Verse 2 goes on to say, Venaha alav ruach Yehovah, ruach hachma, uvina, ruach etzah, ugvura, ruach da'at, V'yiret Adonai. This is the verse that Yeshua read in the synagogue. I think he was in Kfar Nachum, Capernaum, Kfar Nachum, and he read, okay, and he said, today this verse has been fulfilled in your eyes. Okay, what else? What else? Finally, just to give you something a little, not so biblical, but maybe a little secular, I want to give you a cognate, a word that is there as a cognate. It only shows up twice in the entire Tanakh. In Daniel chapter 1, it shows up twice. Let's see, the first time it shows up in Daniel 1:11, and I think it shows up one more time in verse 16. And it is used in modern Hebrew today as a waiter. As a waiter. And the word you're looking at will be the word meltsar. Meltsar. And if you look, let's see, let me get you your diacritical marks for those who need the training wheels. So, meltsar. Meltsar. So you might say, Dave, how is that word related to our other word? Well, remember, with cognates, you can take, in some cases where it works, you can take two letters, okay, from that root. And in most cases, the words are very, very closely related. So, meltsar, when someone's at a restaurant and they're getting ready to order some food, they might raise their hand and say, Miltsar, ani mukhan leazmin. I'm ready to order. Ani mukhan leazmin. Or they might be ready to go and they say, hey, Miltsar, ani mukhan lakachat et hacheshbon. I'm ready to take the account, or I'm ready to take the check. Or give me the check, or they might not even say anything at all along those lines. They just might say Miltsar. They just give the little squiggly, I'm signing something in the air. So, how, you might ask the question, can we go from a guardian or a branch to a waiter? A waiter. Well, if you look at the context in Daniel chapter 1 at verse 11, did I get that? I think I did mark it. Ha! Imagine that. I marked it. So you won't have to wait an eternity while I dig and looking for it. Okay, Daniel chapter 1, verse 11. Just going to read a little bit of that. And notice it says, Vayomer Daniel el hameltzar, there's our word, Vayomer Daniel el hameltzar, asher mina sar hasarisim al Daniel, Hananya, Mishael, ve'Azariah. So this particular guard was in charge of bringing them their food. He did not, lay down his sword and put a cloth over his arm and, bring in a candlelight. He remained a guard, but in that particular given opportunity, it was required of him because Daniel did not want to dirty himself with the polluted food, non-Levitical food of the pagan kingdom where he was being held. But in this case, modern Hebrew adopted it, and it ended up being used as a waiter, But in a sense, he's still guarding, because in that sense, this guard, big tough guy, was tasked with preserving the food of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Okay, so at any rate, that is the word natsar, which again can be a guardian. Okay, it can be one who preserves, keeps, obeys. Okay, and then it can also be a branch, a shoot, a scion, or a descendant. And finally, of course, you and I do know the town of Natseret. Natseret, where Yeshua during his boyhood, Yeshua, little script here because I'm lazy. He lived in the town called Natseret Natzrat, Natzeret, Yeshua of Nazareth, or Yeshua of Nazareth, right? In the modern times in Israel, we have Nazareth and we have Nazareth Elite. Elite is up on a hill, and as you can tell, it's probably very expensive, and you have to expensive, expensive, and you have to be elite in order to live there. Okay, so Nazareth, right? Also, the Hebrew word used for Christianity, the Hebrew word used for Christianity is Natsrut, is Natsrut. Natsrut, okay, because Christianity, don't be triggered, is a branch. Now, what it ended up becoming later and being called Christianity X, Y, and Z, but in its inception, it was called Natsrut, which means a branch. It's a branch off of an original stump. But Christians in the truest sense, um, again, don't get hung up on the semantics. Meshichim, followers of the way, were considered Natsrut because they were still guardians. They were watchers. They were those who obeyed, and they were those who kept. That's a thought to keep in mind about that particular word, okay? Meshichim, Messianics eventually became known as Christianos, okay, as a playoff of the word Meshichim, okay? So we are all branches. We are all offshoots. We are all science. Why? Because as many, John chapter 1, as many as believed on him were given the power to become the sons of Elohim. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of your hair. That was our latest edition of Hot Second Hebrew and the word Natsar, Nun Tzadi Resh Natsar. I hope to see you real soon for the next installment. Until then, Cartersville, Georgia, and all of the wonderful people I met out there. Hopefully, your heater works. A lot of people accuse me of dragging the cold weather back with me here to the Bay Area, and I scraped ice off my windshield before I went to work this morning. So again, shalom lechem, and I will see you all later very soon. Lehit.